I don't get it. As I was about to shut it off, I heard another sound coming from just outside the clearing on the opposite side. It sounded like steady footsteps, advancing in my direction. It only took seeing a tall, shadowy figure coming my way to send me running. Hey guys, Scary Stories here. I hope you're doing well. Tonight, I have 3 truly petrifying stories that take place in the woods for you. Please don't leave the video before the last story. It's really a stumper. Sorry, I thought I had more tree puns for you. Anyways, before we get into the stories tonight, I just want to say, if you're new to the channel, I post videos like this every Thursday and Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I like to look through the archives of the internet to find old websites, stories, and news articles to share with you here. So, if you enjoy all things creepy, strange, or just slightly unsettling, maybe consider hitting that little red button down below. It really helps me out. But, with that out of the way, let's get into the stories. I hope you enjoy. A few nights ago, I went outside to see my dog, but I saw some lights moving around behind my house. This would have been around 11 or 11:30. This didn't really make sense to me at the time. There's no houses around me, just woods. Anyways, the lights looked like someone, or maybe more than one person, walking around, and then they just went off. Maybe it's traffic, somehow really far away? I don't know. So 2 nights later, my dog's barking like crazy. I look at the window and see someone with a flashlight. I grabbed a weapon, just in case, and made a lot of noise trying to open the door. The guy clearly sees me and runs away into the woods. I was in a panic, so I grabbed the flashlight I keep by the door and tried to get a good look at him, but I didn't see enough to get a description. Last night, I saw more lights coming from the woods. It looked like 3 or 4 flashlights this time. Well, I decided I was going to check it out in the morning. So at about 7 a.m., I went out into the woods. About an hour or 2 passes, and I've pretty much explored the whole area. I went back around looking for markings or something, but I didn't find anything. Not a fucking thing. So apparently there's this guy, or group of guys, stalking me. Or maybe not. I don't really know, but it's pretty terrifying. I don't know if I'll ever go out there and investigate again, but I'll keep my eye out and see if they come back. Now, I don't know if this will sound scary through writing, but I'll definitely tell you it was if you were there. So a couple years back, I'm cruising around with my brother, cousin, and a few friends. We decided to go down this creepy back road. We got to the end of it, and there was a trail that continued off. We decided to get out and walk the trail, even though it was pitch black out. We didn't really have a good feeling about the place, but we pressed on anyways. Now, let me say that if anyone else had come down that road, we would have seen the headlights of their car. So after walking around for a little bit and exploring the area, we all went back to our cars. My friend Alex stopped and said, "What's that noise?" We all grew quiet, and we heard a hissing noise. The tires on his car had been slashed. We all started to panic, because nobody else would be at this dead-end back road in the middle of nowhere this late at night. So we just got in the cars and took off. We didn't get too far though. We only got about 5 minutes down the road when his car was completely undrivable. We figured it wasn't a big deal. We'll get the car in the morning, and we squeezed him into our Jeep. We hit the road again, and we went to the gas station to get some snacks on our way back. But when we came out, the Jeep's tires were slashed too. I don't know how that could have happened. Did somebody follow us from the woods and slash our tires too? So, I have one more story for you tonight. It's apparently true, but it's kind of a retelling of a classic. I'm not going to say what the name is because I think that might give it away. Anyways, I hope you enjoy. So this story starts off a little while ago. At the time, I was 10 years old and I lived in a small coastal village way out in the middle of nowhere. Almost every house had acres and acres of forestry behind it, which in itself was quite beautiful. As I'm now 21 and live in a rather bustling city, I do find myself missing my old backyard every once in a while. But those fond memories are usually accompanied by the unsettling memory of what I'm about to recount. By the time I was in grade 4, I was already trusted to be home alone by myself. My mother would often visit my grandmother and aunt, who lived just a few minutes down the road from us. I was getting to that age where I just didn't really want to go as much, so every once in a while I stayed home. I was happy to have such a privilege. It was a sense of independence I was not accustomed to yet. I was an only child, and my father worked in another province most of the time. This usually meant late-night movies, video games, and every once in a while, exploring the woods. I usually never went too far in, usually just up to a large rock formation I liked to climb. It was fun to get up there and look through all the trees in all the different directions. The house was always in sight, so I never felt scared or frightened of being there. It felt like my own private little place that I could enjoy to myself. So, as I was scaling the rocks to sit in my usual spot, I suddenly started to hear a sound from further in. A sound that wasn't natural at all. Crying. Faint crying. It kind of sounded like a child, maybe even an infant, just crying relentlessly. I was way more puzzled than scared, since crying was the last thing I expected to hear in the woods. I must have listened for a few good minutes, just convinced that my ears were playing tricks on me. But no, it was in fact crying I was hearing. In my mind, I imagined it was a young girl that somehow wandered too far into the woods and needed help. I considered going back to the house and calling my mom to help, but then I was worried that the girl would wander further into the forest and we wouldn't find her. I decided to try and locate the sound myself. I made my way in quickly, through the trees and branches, trying to figure out the exact direction the crying was coming from. It definitely was not as easy as I thought it would be, and it was a matter of trial and error to make sure I was going in the right direction. One thing I never realized as I was doing all of this was how consistent this crying was. There was no pauses, no breaths or anything, no words, just non-stop sobbing and wailing that had no end. What I did notice was that as I got closer to the sound, it had more of a metallic sound to it. I eventually got to a small clearing that only had a couple trees and bushes and nothing else. I had never gone in this far before, so this was the first time I'd ever seen this spot. When I made my way in, it didn't take long for me to find the source of the sound. It was a gray tape recorder, one of the biggest ones I've ever seen, and it was peeking out of one of the bushes. The crying was coming out of a speaker. This really confused me, but I knew something was wrong. I came in this way expecting to find a real person, but it was only a tape recorder? I don't get it. As I was about to shut it off, I heard another sound coming from just outside the clearing on the opposite side. It sounded like steady footsteps, advancing in my direction. It only took seeing a tall, shadowy figure coming my way to send me running. Fortunately, I was able to find my way back by identifying trees and rocks I had seen as landmarks. Looking back, this very well could have saved my life. I never looked over my shoulder to see if my pursuer was still there. I didn't even think to listen to see if this guy was following me still. I just kept telling myself, make it home. I had to get home. Once I saw the large rock formation, my spot, it didn't take me long to realize I was almost home. I was out of the forest in record time and immediately ran into my house, locking all the doors and shutting all the lights off as I went to my bedroom. I didn't want this person to know where I lived, or I'd be really done for. After shutting the curtains to my window, I peeked out of them as discreetly as I could. I wanted to see if whoever was chasing me had actually kept up. I didn't see anyone, but I stayed by that window for a good hour, waiting for something to emerge out of that forest. But nothing ever did. After that, I went straight to bed. I never did tell my mother about what happened that night, and I also was never able to go back into those woods ever again. Well, what'd you think of those stories? Would you go running out into the woods at night if you started hearing a suspiciously automated crying baby? Yeah, I don't know about that. I guess she was only 10 and just trying to help. This was also a little while ago, so there wasn't as many stories about people using tape recordings to try and lure people out of their houses. Anyways, I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike. And if you have any weird, creepy stories that take place in the woods, feel free to share them with me if you want them shared on the channel. My email's down in the description below. Send me a message sometime. But yeah, I'll cut it there for now. I hope you're taking care of yourself, and I hope you're treating yourself well. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.